before the glorious days of King Arthur, even before his father Uther Pendragon was born, Britannia saw the arrival of the legions. In the name of the Roman emperors they invaded the south, then set out to conquer the whole land. At the northernmost point of their conquest, where they met the savage Picts, they halted and founded the giant fort of Eboracum. Eboracum grew and became the capital of the northern provinces. But the Romans who came here never felt at ease. They feared Britannia, the wizards, and the gods in the woods. They knew that something ancient was slumbering beyond Eboracum, up in the north. So the Roman Emperor Hadrian decided to build a wall to protect his land. Legends speak of Hadrian's wits and his mastery in the arcane, but some say he had help from a young wizard called Merlin. The wall was magnificent, and for a long time stone and magic kept out the tribes and everything else that lurked out in the cold. Then, times changed. When the fabled Ninth Legion disappeared beyond the wall, it was the turn of the tide. The Romans slowly withdrew from Britannia. But 5 noble families decided to stay in Eboracum. They succumbed to decadence and fought over the remnants of their former glory, until a young monarch in the south, a Briton called Arthur, changed everything. The flames of magic flared up again, and a new age of wonders began. The noble families realized that it was the time they had been waiting for. While King Arthur was uniting the south, they were busy squabbling over their possible leader. The Sulla family seemed to be the right choice to build a new Eboracum, but not everyone agreed. The family's enemies were merely waiting for the right moment to deal with the Sullas and their heir, the valiant Septimus. The right moment is now. Something terrible has happened in the south, where King Arthur rules the land. Meanwhile, Eboracum is under threat from the north. The wall cannot hold back the Picts much longer. When Septimus left his family, his bride and his friends and rode off to battle, he was betrayed by his own kind. They abandoned him and his warriors in the heat of the battle, and he found himself alone, surrounded by savages. Still, he fought valiantly, until a fateful blow sent him sprawling to the ground. The Picts left him there, on the other side of the wall, in the firm belief that he was dead, and they were almost right. Septimus Sulla lay among the fallen for a very long time, and then, suddenly, he opened his eyes. When you open your eyes, you can't decide whether you're awake or in some kind of dream. You stand upon a soaring mountaintop, looking down on a thick layer of clouds beneath your feet. It is almost as if you were in the abode of the gods. Could it be that? You ponder. But your thoughts are interrupted by an ethereal yet powerful voice.
Who are you, lost soul? And why have you crossed into the land of savages?
Your reply merely echoes in the celestial void at first, but then the apparition of an elderly figure manifests itself before you. He addresses you with a faint smile and an air of absolute authority.
A Roman champion. Well then, I am honored to meet someone with such a rare vocation. But let's see what else we can learn about you.
As he speaks, you realize that you know him. You have seen his face on marble statues 100 times before. This is the great Emperor Hadrian himself, who died centuries ago. You begin to struggle with this impossible thought, but your pondering is cut short when you are beset by a series of visions. Still, images form and melt away, one after another. You soon realize that these are scenes from your own past, but they are all hazy and lack details. Finally the visions stop, and you are left staring at one of your past battles.
Ah, so that's the kind of champion you are. Yes, indeed. Your skills have brought you many victories, and yet here you are. Tell me, how is it that the barbarians defeated the mighty Septimus Sulla? Have the Romans become so weak, or was it your strategy which was flawed?
It seems the apparition intends to discuss the reasons for your defeat further, but the thought of the betrayal fills you with sudden rage. Enough, you say. I have answered your questions. Now you answer mine. Who are you, and what is this place?
Indeed, you have the right to know. I was once known as Emperor Hadrian, and you are in my prison. As you know, I mastered the arcane arts in my life, and created many arcane objects for the glory of Rome. My greatest creation was the wall, and yet it is not the reason I'm here. Unbeknownst to me, when I first bound magic to an object of personal vanity, I also bound my eternal soul to it. Thus I became part of my golden wreath, unable to let it go, even after death. Centuries passed, and now only a fragment of the wreath remains, but that is enough to keep me here. I sensed your presence when the battle began to rage, but I could not reach you until the moment you were mortally wounded. At the moment your blood touched the fragment, our souls were linked to each other. But your questions will have to wait. I must first show you something. Much has happened since you marched north, and there are many things that you must know. While you were fighting savages, an enemy struck at your home, an enemy you are not aware of.
The Emperor falls silent and lets you watch another stream of images which depict a bloody assault on your home. You can only look on in horror as everything you hold dear is ruthlessly destroyed.
Your family, your bride, even your lands, all gone. You have lost much, but you may yet save some of what you have. In this place, our powers combined can alter the very fabric of reality, and thus we can change what is about to happen. But your life is fading away, and we cannot risk you dying. We can only make one change, so you must choose. Very good. You have now faced the past and the present, but you have not yet faced the future, and you must see it to know what you must do. All your suffering, all the devastation you've seen, is just a prelude to something much worse. I thought it was inevitable, until your arrival provided us with a chance. But it all hinges on you now. This is what will happen if you die. This is what will be if you don't walk the path that destiny has chosen for you. Our people have grown decadent and weak. Divided and leaderless, they cannot withstand what is to come. The members of your murdered family will have been the lucky ones. There is a reason you found me, Septimus, and together we shall face a monumental task. With the power of my wreath, you shall return from the dead and chisel the world around you until it has a future again. You must rebuild the legions and unite the squabbling families. You must restore the glory of Rome so it can stand firm against the tide of the coming darkness. While the rest of the world burns, a new Rome shall stand. But first, you must reclaim what you have lost. You shall return home, bury your dead, rebuild, and gather your strength. Your people and your soldiers await you. There is much to be done before the name Septimus Sulla is known by all.
Soldiers headed towards the heart of the Sulla estate. The leaders are retired Sulla veterans, whom your father charged with taking some of the family treasures to safety when the rebellion started. After the Senate proved too slow to respond to the crisis, they took the initiative and used the funds to raise troops.
Yes, my lord.
Units standing in a forest become camouflaged and are invisible to the enemy, except in close proximity.
who survived the deadly silence at the wall. You came home and took back what belonged to you. However, that was only the beginning. Now you have to enter a real viper's nest, the marble halls of Ibaracum, where your fate... For the first time in your life, you see the main square of Ibaracum as the perfect symbol of what the provinces have become. Crumbling on the broad steps of the Senate building, you come across an unusually large gathering where small groups gather to scheme and gossip. The news of your return muffled voices herald your arrival in the gloomy vaulted hall. You notice that some of the senators quickly withdrew. The chamber of the Senate resembles a large cauldron, where the rows of seats gradually descend towards the speaker's stand. When you arrive, the only person there... The censor shakes his head sadly. My sincere apologies, but you are not a member of the Senate. You have no right to speak here. You feel the nauseating surge of anger rising again. You simply sneer at the censor. By the gods of Ibaracum, I didn't see any bills of proscription outside that announced my death and put my family property up for sale. I inherited my father's post as a senator, and I intend to act like it. Noble senators, I'm aware that my behavior may strike you as offensive. Some of you think my words defy tradition. But take into consideration the sad events that befell my family. This matter is of the gravest urgency. If you want to formally discuss my request, I'll wait here. However, considering the urgency of the matter I intend to present before you, I'm willing to share my thoughts with you before the formal session. You pause and the hall is... Cornelius, the head of the merchant family Severus, nods to the augur in his traditional robe with the blood-red stripes. The augur invokes the blessings of the gods on the assembly and opens the session. The augur, wearing his traditional robe with its blood-red stripes, invokes the blessings. Cornelius Severus is a noble-looking man with silver hair and a very powerful presence. After greeting the Senate, he immediately turns. The senators argue among themselves for a while, carefully weighing every word. It takes a while. The aging senator puts your request to the vote, and the senators reach a unanimous agreement. Afterwards, Cornelius Severus walks to the speaker's platform, but only to ask you to speak. Pompeius Messala is a small, fat man with beady eyes. His speech is nothing but a set of empty phrases. The Quintus family is responsible for the legions of Ibaracum, so Horatius Quintus begins his speech with a warning about the growing number of Picts sneaking through the weak defenses of the wall. He insists on increasing the number of soldiers, which leads to a heated debate. The debate is long and tiresome. Finally, they decide to vote. The lower-ranking senators carefully wait until the more powerful members raise their hands. The Senate votes in favor of the proposal, and they agree to increase the size of the army of Ibar. Senators, you begin bitterly. You ordered me to the wall to help the Caracalla family against the invading Picts. And then I was left alone, betrayed by those who sought my help. Lies! Shouts one of the Caracallas. We had to move back to our states to defend. Most of my warriors died in that battle. I was left for dead, bleeding from my wounds, and it is a miracle that I survived. The senators exchange ashamed glances. Instead of the usual commotion, this time eerie silence fills the marble hall.
I'm talking about the series of seemingly accidental events that somehow still led to the destruction of my family. Don't they sound suspicious?
The senators can't contain their anger anymore. The noise quickly becomes deafening.
These are only assumptions. We demand proof.
However, you sense uncertainty.
I can't prove anything, and that's the beauty of it. The conspirators were clever, but you are mistaken if you believe that the destruction of my family will be the end of this. I fear that those behind these machinations have a much... You all know the consultum the Senate passed 100 years ago. That decree set the terms that still apply to the families lending military or financial help for the protection of the wall. The Sulla family defended the wall, and thus the whole realm against the tide of the Picts. And what was the price we paid? We lost everything.
Cornelius rises from his bench.
We need time to study the decree that Septimus Sulla quoted with such fervour. It would be unwise to make the provinces of Iberacum pay for someone's mistakes in leadership, or the inexperience of his family in the treatment of their slaves. Yes, we occasionally grant freedom to our slaves, although not as often as you seem to think, and we don't send them away to die in the arena or use them for dark rituals. The cause of the rebellion is not the fact that they want to live. As regards my expertise in leadership, the Senate could always ask the opinion of some battle-hardened soldiers and centurions, instead of listening to the
The uproar is so loud that it's almost ear-piercing. This is clearly a debate that will go into the annals of the Senate. Finally, the augur has to intervene. The Senate offers you 2,000 gold and grants you an auxiliary force until you've gathered a new army.
Hera Septimus Sula, finest commander of the provinces. The mighty Senate of Eboracum orders you to move to the north. The marauding Picts have crossed the wall again.
Yes, my liege.